You ever have one of those moments where you're just standing there, doing something completely normal, like closing your garage door, and suddenly your whole life spins out? Yeah, that happened. I was literally just pressing the button to close up for the night, and next thing I know, there are two squad cars in my driveway, lights flashing, and a woman I've never met grinning at me from across the street like she just won the lottery. Why? Because I'm black. And I guess closing your own garage is a criminal offense now, at least in her eyes. This isn't about a garage door. Not really. It's about power, about control, about being judged before you even have a chance to introduce yourself. You know what I mean? Let me back up a sec. Moving home should feel like comfort, like pulling on an old sweatshirt you thought you'd outgrown. But sometimes that sweatshirt's crawling with memories you'd rather forget. I'd been a city guy for years, working stories, chasing scandals, living for the adrenaline, until Dad died. Suddenly, it felt like the universe was calling me back to that red brick house he built with his own hands, back to the place where my mom still kept blue tile in the kitchen and my dad's old drafting table collected dust by the window. And, man, the place hadn't changed a bit. Same creaky garage door, same oak tree in the yard. Same weird sense that time had just paused. But right away, I got the feeling things weren't going to be simple. On my second day home, while I'm carrying boxes out of the car, I see her, arms crossed at the property line, wearing that smile folks use when they're about to give you bad news. You're the new owner, huh? That's Barbara Whitmore, the HOA president. If you've never had an HOA president in your life, count yourself lucky. I've interviewed politicians, actual criminals, you name it. But the way she eyed me, like I was some kind of test she needed to grade, made me feel like I was back in high school, trying to explain why my homework was late. She wasn't curious. She was collecting data. So what do? You planning to live here full time? Every answer I gave felt like handing over a piece of myself for approval. But hey, maybe she was just being neighborly, right? Turns out, Barbara doesn't do neighborly. She does surveillance. 3 days later, after a long day cleaning the garage, jazz playing low, I hit that garage door button and headed inside. Normal stuff. Then I see the lights, red and blue, splashing my kitchen walls. You know that sinking feeling when you just know something's about to go bad? I step out, hands visible, heart pounding. Cop says, "We got a call about suspicious activity." Suspicious, because a black man was in his own garage. I show them my license, my mortgage, my keys, just in case they need more proof I belong here than my own face. The officers, to their credit, get it pretty quick and apologize. But the damage is done, you know? I look up, and who do I see standing there in the dark, watering her flowers at 9:30 p.m.? Barbara. No flowers in her hand. Just that smug little smirk. Like she just won a round and couldn't wait to tell her friends about it. And that, right there, should have been the end, right? Wrong. The next morning, I find a violation. Notice under my windshield wiper. Grass too long. 2.5 inches, not the regulation 2 inches. $50. I actually crouched in the yard with a ruler, just to check. It felt ridiculous. Then came the trash can, 10 minutes past pickup time. $75. Car parked a 1/4 inch off the driveway. $100. Package left on the porch for 2 hours. $50. All signed in Barbara's elegant, looping signature. Was it a coincidence? I called neighbors. Most had maybe 1 or 2 fines in a year. I had 7 in 10 days. Either I'm the worst homeowner in America, or Barbara's got me in her sights. Yeah, I had a pretty good idea which one. That's when Frank Holden walks into my life. A retired school principal, 80 years old, with a memory like a steel trap. He hands me a folder as thick as a phone book, says, "You're getting the Barbara treatment." Inside, stories, families bankrupted, marriages busted up, houses sold in desperation. All with Barbara's signature at the bottom of the page. She's been doing this for years, Frank says, but nobody's ever fought back. That's the thing about investigative journalists. We don't scare easy. I decided, if Barbara wanted a fight, I'd give her one, but on my terms. I announced a neighborhood documentary, posted to the community forum, asked folks to share stories about Oak Hills. The response was nuts, volunteers, old-timers wanting to be interviewed, everyone with a story about the good old days. And suddenly, I wasn't alone. That rattled Barbara. She marched to my door in full business mode. portfolio in hand. She wanted to help guide my project so it met community standards. I told her, sure, why not be my first interview? She couldn't resist the spotlight. Her house was exactly what you'd expect. Perfect, cold, almost fake. She sat for the camera, spouted off about standards and traditions, but I heard the subtext. Who belongs, who doesn't, who gets to decide. She didn't realize how much she was revealing. When I brought up families Frank had mentioned, her face twitched, just for a split second. But it was all I needed. Next thing I know, I'm getting a cease and desist letter from the city, Barbara's handiwork, no doubt. She claimed I was running an unlicensed media business. Fines, threats of lawsuits, you name it. My neighbors started avoiding me. People who'd cheered me on days before now looked the other way. Barbara was winning. I was about to give up, sitting there, staring at my dad's old files, feeling completely defeated, when I stumbled across something wild. The original Oak Hills Neighborhood Charter, signed by the founders. Article 6, support and encourage cultural, artistic, and journalistic activities. My project wasn't just legal, it was protected. But that wasn't the best part. Buried in my dad's files was a diary entry from 1994. He'd rejected Barbara for an internship, citing untrustworthy professional conduct. She'd tried to bribe building security for design blueprints. Later, she'd even filed a fake discrimination complaint. It was all there in black and white. This wasn't about HOA violations. It was a decades-long grudge. Barbara had been waiting 30 years to get her revenge on my family. I sent the board the charter, let them chew on it. Kept the other stuff close, nuclear options, only to be used if necessary. The city dropped their complaint, the board backed off, but I knew Barbara wasn't done. So, I hosted a screening at my place. Neighbors, board members, Frank, even Barbara herself. Played footage of her violations, her interview, her nightly surveillance. Then dropped the bomb. My dad's diary, projected on the wall for all to see. The room went silent. Barbara looked like she'd seen a ghost. I let her stew in it, then turned to the board. You have 48 hours to fix this. The next day, Barbara was out, unanimous vote. Her house went up for sale within the month. The new board president threw out most of her petty rules. Grass could be 3 inches. Trash cans could. Rest easy. Justice doesn't always look like a movie. Sometimes it's slow, sometimes it hurts, sometimes you've got to wade through hell to get there. But in the end, the truth comes out. Barbara's face is now a cautionary tale, not just in Oak Hills, but all over the internet. You know, sometimes your worst enemy isn't the one shouting from across the street. It's the one quietly waiting for their chance to take you down. But if you stand your ground, if you fight for your story, for your home, for what's right, you just might win. So, if you've ever had your own Barbara, I want to hear about it. Drop a comment below, share your story, and let's talk about what justice really means. And hey, if you like this saga, hit that thanks button. Take care of yourself. And remember, sometimes, peace is the hardest thing to fight for, but it's always worth it.